Hi, gardening friends. This is Saturday, the 25th of March. It's about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and it's a beautifully sunny day. Humidity's not terrible yet, and there's a nice breeze. And I'm just kind of sitting here, a little dumbfounded. I don't listen to the news all that much, and I happened to see on my feeds on the internet that there was a pretty bad outbreak of tornadoes last night in Mississippi and I guess some parts of Alabama. And at least so far it appears there are 23 people lost their lives. So I'm kind of just pondering that. I saw the drone footage and it was absolutely horrible. Houses were just wiped off of their slabs with not but a couple of cinder blocks left in many cases. That total devastation is rare, and it's very shocking. So I couldn't make it through the drone video without praying, and I've been kind of praying ever since, and we all need to keep the people of Mississippi in our prayers. It's times like this that you kind of question, how can God let this happen? Of course, you risk judging God in a case like that, or thinking that. And I guess in a way it is fitting, since this is I believe it's the 32nd day of Jesus being in the wilderness, where he was constantly tempted by the devil. And just as God is real, so is the devil. So we have to hold thoughts of doubt at bay. I kind of view things like this, or times like this, as there's no way to understand what's happening. When God created the earth in the presence of his angels, it was not necessary for us to understand what he was doing, nor accept it. It happened. Only God knows what his plans are. And God is good. We did have a frost last week, and it got a few things in my garden. Nothing major. It got the tips of my loropetalum. You can see the dead here. It also got some of the sprouts on my crepe myrtles. However, they'll come back. It did get some of the new growth on the Fatsias, but again, they'll come back as well. It didn't get all of the new growth on the Fatsias. The ones that are more protected are fine. Everything back here is very lush and green. I was able to get some more strawberries to fill out my strawberry pot over here. I wound up buying plants for the top of this pot because the birds kept digging up the bare-rooted plants that I had put there. Everything looks so very lush and green. The inflorescence on my Mediterranean fan palm are still coming out. You see another, hopefully you can see the bright yellow coming out at the top of that bush, or a fan palm. Well, now here's a case where the top of this Fatsia got hit, but not that one. So go figure. It's not dead, it'll come back. The big thing that I was doing this last week was I went ahead and bought some vegetable seedlings. Oh, I do want to show you my rose. My first rose of the season has come out. It's a little the worse for wear because of the late frost and today's heat, but it is very fragrant. That's Oklahoma. Actually, things are pretty dry back here. It could stand a good watering in, but supposedly we're going to get some rain tonight. My Lenten roses are still doing well. They lean downward to help protect the nectar within the blossoms. I learned that from watching Monty Don. Oh, Gardener's World. Gardener's World 2023 has started up. They're now into episode 2. They usually start in March and they finish sometime, I think, in September or October. That is one of my favorite gardening programs. Oh, there's a visitor sleeping nicely. Miss Mimi is inside sleeping nicely. I couldn't convince her to come out. I did work over these 3 topiary forms. I tied up the ivy. That one is all the original ivy. This ivy were all cuttings. It turns out that this first one, there was a lot of ivy that ran along the ground, and I think in my last video I said I was going to cut it and try to root the cuttings and put it in that last topiary. Well, when I pulled it up off the ground, it had already rooted. And so I just moved them down to the last topiary form. And hopefully this year I'll have a little bit better luck. Last year, that second topiary form did catch. Those are all the pieces of ivy that were there. So it should fill out a little more this year, and hopefully the last form will catch as well. Here there was a lot of excitement this week because the construction out at the road hit a buried phone cable, which of course only affects those people that still have dial-up, of which I am one. Not dial-up, but I mean a landline. Oh Lord, I don't have dial-up, I have a landline. In any event, they came and fixed it. Took them 2 days to reconnect all the cables. But what I did in the meantime is I went ahead and I did power wash my fence. I used Wet and Forget, which is a fantastic product. I did buy protective plastic drop cloths that I put on both sides of the fence. It is a bleach, so sometimes it can damage plants, and since I have edible things there, I didn't want to take the chance of something poisoning me. So here you can see my lettuces are still doing well. I've got parsley. I'm going to be taking out my broccoli because it's about done. And in its place, I bought some seedling okra today. I did buy 2 tomatoes from Lowe's. It turns out they have tomatoes at all different prices. You can get large tomatoes already with fruit for $20 a pot. It comes in a large pot with a trellis. And they go all the way down to about, I think, $3.98. I got the $3.98 ones. And I was able to find ones that were double stalked. In other words, it didn't branch off of one stalk. There were actually 2 tomato plants in the pot. And so I planted one here and one in the middle of the other trellis. And my plan is to have them come up the, not trellis, but this picket fence. I'll train them up the picket fence, and I'll have one go to the right and one go to the left. I bought Husky cherry tomatoes, and then I bought, let's see, which one is this? I always keep the tags down here. Husky cherry red. And the other one here you can see the 2 stems. Hopefully you can see them. Super Sweet 100. I only get cherry tomatoes. That's the only thing I've ever had luck with in front here. Of course, without the oak, it might get more sun and others may grow. Here I have my romaine. It started bolting, so I cut some of the romaine. And I have some dill. I bought a container of dill. Of course, there's the sage from last fall. My lantana have all come back. They got touched a little by frost. And here's a late daffodil coming. My butterfly bushes got touched a little, but not terribly. And they are absolutely full of bud. Supposedly these are dwarf. I don't know how dwarf is. Sometimes dwarf is 6 foot. So we'll just have to wait and see. Here's more lantana in the middle of that pot. By the way, if you ever dig up lantana, that was bare root when I split it. There was not a speck of dirt on any of these plants. And I planted them, and sure enough, it came back. Here's another lantana. Lantana is tricky when you buy it because it can grow to be 8 foot tall, or it could stay 6 to 12 inches tall. It comes in all different colors. These are a multicolored orangey yellow. And the trick is, if you buy one year, you may not be able to match it the next. So if you can divide it up, you're sure to get exactly the same plant. This is really coming along here. This is my bee balm. Oswego tea is another name for it. The Oswego Indians used to make tea out of it. That's hence the name. Bought a little basil and some cilantro. Cilantro I don't have great luck with because it's going to bolt really fast in the heat. But I've put my vegetables in. Other than I do have a 6-pack of okra that I'm going to be planting. I'm going to keep them in the house for a while. Well, actually, keep them in the sun and watch them carefully. This is the time of the year when the birds like to come and nip any new, juicy looking growth. So you kind of have to be careful. Last year I seeded beans here where the snapdragons or antirrhinums are, and they did not let a single bean seed germinate. They ate all the little buds, so I had to start them in pots. So I'm going to let the okra get a little bigger before I put them out. But here you can see the antirrhinums are getting ready to bloom. They're looking good. Here you can see the amaryllis are still coming up. They haven't opened yet. But I do see that one's got 3 flowers. No, 4 flowers, as does that one. Normally when they come back, they don't always have 4 blossoms. Like this one only has 2. That's probably about a 4 or 5-year-old one. But there's a 3 and there's a 4. You never really know what's going to happen when they come up. And there's a 4 blossom. I did take the one, I always cut the dead off because you don't want them going to seed. You do want to give as much energy, or let the plant get as much energy as it can, so you don't want it forming seeds. I think I have a couple more blooming on this side. Not too much got touched by frost up front here. Oh, my AC is going. You can hear the AC unit going here in the front, or on the side. There you can see little frost damage on the side of that flower. This flower is looking nice. They're all the same reds, however, they look different in the sunshine. It's kind of like when you paint your walls in the house, they vary depending upon the light. I refilled the bird bath yesterday and was watching the birds this morning. I love taking baths in the bird bath. I have one last camellia, or a couple of last camellia blossoms there, the ones in the shade. It's the last hurrah for the camellias. So I had 2 in total that did not bloom this year. It's kind of late for camellias at this point in time. This bush never bloomed, and actually the yellow had only 1 blossom, and high fragrance only had 1 blossom. So this year I thought I'm not going to do any pruning. I'm going to let them be, and hopefully next year I'll have a lot more flowers. And that's about it for today. Spring is definitely here. Now is the time, at least in the Zone 8B area, when you can start planting your gardens outside. I am kind of sick of watching the gardening videos. There are hundreds of them with people starting seeds inside the house. If you've seen one seed starting kit, you've seen them all. However, I do understand up north this is not quite yet time for people to be planting out. But yes, here everything is doing well. There you can see the Phoenix canariensis, the Canary Island date palm. It's got new growth in the middle. The frost didn't get it. Still has a lot of dead branches. They will gradually droop lower where I can get at them. But it still looks pretty as is. At least it's alive. These bananas are doing well. I don't know if I'm going to have my bananas in the backyard this year. They had the misfortune of wanting to come up under my deck. And so this Thursday or the Thursday before, we pried up a deck board or 2 and actually dug them out because they were ripping the deck boards up. So they made the life-altering choice of coming up under the deck as opposed to coming out in the open. So if they don't come up, so be it. If they do, they do. But there you have it for today. Have a good day, and keep your thoughts and prayers with the people in Mississippi, as I will be. Take care for now.